Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi, Miriam.
Hey, Henry. Hi there.
Hey. Bert is not gonna make it. I hope the other folks will. We have 4 at least.
Is Greg coming or is he resigned effective?
He resigned. Yep.
Joke.
Yeah. Janice, there she is. Hey, Janice.
Hi.
Dennis, I miss never getting to see your face.
I'm the anonymous black box.
You got to put a nice wetland picture up as your profile.
I've tried to do that, but I was told that if you don't have any kind of a video, you can't substitute a different image.
Oh,
I don't know if that's true, but when I first started this, a few years ago, that's what I was told when I tried to put up some kind of a picture or something instead.
your computer doesn't have a camera.
No, it's old.
Yeah.
Matteo. Hi.
Good evening.
Yeah. Let's see. Leslie. I think that's gonna do it for tonight. Bert Fernandez is not making it, and Greg officially resigned. He will be continuing to volunteer with us, but he's not going to make it to meetings. So we've got 4. We have a quorum. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. So shall we get started? I guess we can start with the update on the guide board.
Henry, you got to call the meeting to order.
I move to call this meeting to order. Your second.
Second.
I don't think we have to have a motion, do we?
I think it's just called.
It's just called, yeah. Okay, so we don't have the minutes for the last meeting, so we'll postpone that decision for our next meeting. Moving to the guide board.
Yeah.
I looked at the estimate for, would you like to say something about that estimate?
Yeah, so I reached out, I got referred to a conservator center in Williamstown, the Williamstown Art Restoration Center. And they do restoration of antique structures and buildings and artwork, and have several specialists on their staff. And I spoke with Christine Puza, P-U-Z-A, who was the specialist that would be person who can do kind of a wood structure repainting and decorative painting. And she said that she can do a site assessment. And if we want, she can look to see if she can get some small fragments of paint, perhaps flaking paint. And she does paint analyses. So if we want to go forward with getting a paint analysis, she can collect some samples. That wasn't part of the original bid or a quote that I discussed with her. It was really for her to propose a treatment strategy and really to have an opinion of whether she thinks restoration is possible, which she felt she could give us an opinion by taking a look at it. But because they're an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes away, they would charge for the time. So they charge $135 an hour. The assessment itself would take one to what I think they said 1 to 1.5 hours, but then there's a travel time involved. So my guess, as I said in the email, is that, we would be looking at somewhere between $500 and maybe $700 or $800 in order to get a more definitive assessment from a qualified person that we could then move forward and act upon. We would need to have even if we wanted to use Peter Ham, we still needed a decorative painter. So if we wanted to revisit getting a proposal for Peter Ham, which we can still do, we still need someone who can do the decorative painting component. So having her do an assessment would keep that option open.
I think, I mean, just from the information you sent, Miriam, I think that it would be a great idea to have, it's almost like getting a second opinion. Not that I doubt what Peter said about it, but I think it would be good to have somebody else look at it and sort of evaluate what needs to be done and what can be done to it. And if a paint analysis is part of that at some point, that would be excellent as well. I also just wanted to say I appreciated, I saw in the email chain, you kind of pushed back when when they didn't actually give you a price.
Yeah, I just knew that wasn't going to fly.
But yeah, I mean, this
they wanted me to sign an agreement, and I was like, well, what am I agreeing to?
Yeah.
So I didn't sign it. So, my understanding is that the assessment would be covered under our grant terms. So we do have the funding under the CPA for the assessment, I believe. And so there was also some talk at a CPC meeting. I think Rita raised that perhaps the select board had access to a fund. And then you mentioned perhaps out of the administrative fund for the CPC. And I'm not sure which was being discussed really.
So I think Rita was alluding to the CPC's administrative budget.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know how much is in that off the top of my head. I know that it's probably, probably more than enough to do. I mean, we spend it on some paper, we spend it on the coalition membership and we spend it on the legal ads for the hearings. So I could find out, what is in that. And then I assume that there would have to be a vote of the CPC to use it. I think that you're absolutely right, though, that looking back at the grant agreement, that this kind of evaluation is perfectly in line with the kinds of things that funding was for as well.
So one of my questions, Matteo, and perhaps this is something to be brought up at the next CPC meeting is, we're certainly working assiduously to move this process forward, and there've been hiccups along the way. You know, I will take full ownership that there were a few months earlier in 2022 where I was stretched a little thin, given that my husband was undergoing cancer treatment at Dana-Farber and we were living in Boston. So that was a little bit of a distraction. Glad to say he's in good health now, but
Yay.
yay. But anyway, that we are working on this, but I recognize that the grant agreement said that the grant would be canceled if we weren't acting on it or hadn't begun the work by July 1st, 2023. And I think we're moving closer to being able to get moving, but I'm a little concerned about that date.
Well, so I need to pull up the grant agreement. It wasn't that the project needed to be completed by then, right?
No.
It needs to be. So, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of the CPC. I feel like that the kind of work that this kind of thing, that this kind of evaluation is the project moving forward, because it would be impossible to do the next step without doing this. So
Okay.
my
Yeah.
sense is it's basically to avoid the whole like North Cove of Lake Wyola situation
Abandoning it where it's abandoned.
just disappeared, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've approved a scope. We've talked to lots of vendors. We've had some vendors come and talk to us. So we're in that, we're moving along, maybe slower than we would have liked, but we're moving along. So that would be great if we could not be constrained by that. And does the commission want to approve this and to have me? I mean, I sort of feel like I'd like to get it going so that by the time we meet again, maybe we'll have some feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be wonderful. I think it's a really good idea to get another opinion from a different source that can help direct us and how we should plan what we should
And
do.
this seems like a very reputable organization. I mean, I imagine they do a lot of art restoration work for the art museum in Williamstown. What is it? The Clark? Is that what it's called? Yeah, Clark Institute.
Well,
Yes.
I'm glad you were able to find this and follow up with it.
Yeah. What do you think, Leslie?
I agree. Let's get started on it. I mean, I was a little, I guess I was, when I read it, because they do a lot of art restoration, but you mentioned that they do a range of things besides art restoration.
Well, this is kind of like art restoration. This is a restoration of a wooden object. Sometimes when people talk about restoration of wooden structures, they're talking about buildings. And the way that people have described it is this is kind of an outdoor decorative object. That's the category it kind of falls in. So an art conservator is kind of the person who has the skills for working with wood and paint. And old wood and paint.
And that department is called, it's the Department of Objects Conservation, which covers sculptures and historical artifacts, indoor and outdoor.
There you go.
Yeah, I think
I was just trying to anticipate anyone, questioning it.
I think the name of it, because it's called the Art Conservation Center, might be misleading, but if you look at what they actually do, it clearly encompasses, I mean, because where do you draw the line between decorative Americana and as an object and as an art form? It's not within the purview of like what we try to do. It's historical.
It's paint. It's painting on wood.
Historical paint. Yeah.
Which
Well,
is
the paint itself is not, but yeah.
Okay. Well, this is great. So maybe just let's have a motion to authorize me to move forward with authorizing the assessment by Williamstown Art Conservation Center, Art Restoration Center.
Right. So motion to have Miriam DeFont move forward with the assessment by the what is it called again?
Williamstown Art Restoration.
Williamstown Art Restoration.
Conservation.
Oh,
Conservation.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second Janice.
Okay. All right, just go around then. Defunct,
Hi,
Geddes, aye. Pangalo,
Aye.
Stone.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. So you'll get back to us maybe sooner
yeah,
than that?
I'm gonna, probably what I'll do is try to arrange when they come out to meet them. And I can let the commission know if anybody wants to come and be there
All right,
and ask questions or talk to her.
sounds good.
Right. Fantastic.
All right, second item is the elementary school cleanup crew. Did we set a date for that? I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
Can you, since I'm new, can you just say what is being cleaned up in there? Is this an
Okay.
animal thing?
So this is
No.
what building we're talking about, Mateo?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so it hasn't, nobody, what Leslie said last time was that traditionally the commission would go in once a year and sweep it out and dust it and kind of clean up the cobwebs and just get it in a shape so that if we wanted to have an open house, it would be in a reasonable shape for that. And we haven't done it since before the pandemic. So it's way overdue. It probably hasn't been done in a long time because we haven't done it since I've been on the commission.
Oh, maybe Leslie has some insight into the history and what it will take to clean it up. I don't know.
And she talked with us about it last time. We kind of-
Okay, yeah.
there's no electricity. So, brooms and probably rags and, maybe spray bottles of water or buckets of water would be a good idea. Maybe some rags. And I don't know, hopefully we're not going to discover lots of toxic
Mold?
well, I'm more concerned about like mouse stuff, but
Oh,
I would think people should wear masks and maybe even protective eye gear. I don't know if that's overkill or not, but I have a mold allergy, so I can't even go. I can't
Mhm.
participate.
Mhm.
It would be bad for me.
I think we should just wait till it gets a little warmer.
Yeah.
There's still snow in Shutesbury, right? It's still cold.
Let's set why don't we pick like a Saturday date in May, just so that it's in the,
and by that
Okay.
time we may have a few more members on board. We could coordinate with everybody.
Oh, yeah, maybe that would be better to email around or something.
yeah, well. Or we could just pick a date and if it doesn't work, then. I mean, I'm looking at the calendar. When is
Yeah.
Mother's Day? That's like the weekend of the 14th.
14th.
Um,
Do
what
the
about
20th?
like- yeah, do that. Who's Saturday, the 20th?
Yeah, because the next was part of the long weekend for Memorial Day, so it'd be in between those two.
Well, why don't we say Saturday at 9 a.m. on the 20th?
Okay.
That works for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Yeah, the easy part.
So,
Yeah,
I don't know if there's any, there was something I was thinking of bringing up as kind of unanticipated business if we didn't have anything else to talk about.
I don't have anything else. No.
No. Well, I was thinking about our discussion last time we met about priorities and projects. And I'd really like to see us make some headway with the reorganization of the storage closet. And, unfortunately Greg's not here. But I'd really like to, we got a grant, we bought supplies. Then we kind of, I don't know what happened. The summer took over and then it got cold. And then, a year's gone by now. And I just feel like I'd really like to see us moving forward with that project, not just leaving it dangling.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe we can check in with Greg since he was sort of a major part of that, just to see what sort of time, whether it's a weekend or a weekday or, what works for him and that we can work around to also, some of us can only have maybe 2 people there at a time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, why don't we get a schedule of
Yeah.
dates for work dates, and then, people can sign up for them, and maybe
Okay.
Greg could be the coordinator, but then there'd be different people he could work with, or, hand it off to one of us to be kind of coordinating it. But I just feel like,
Mhm.
it's not pleasant in the winter, and
No.
it's not pleasant when it's super hot. So it's the shoulder seasons when it's the easiest to be in that space. And I just would like to
Good
get
idea.
with it.
What building is it in? Sorry.
So in the old town hall, there is a storage closet. It's a small room that belongs to our commission, and it's chock full of donated materials and collections and documents and various kinds of things that have been given to the commission over decades. And Leslie has really been, kind of the lead, the person who really took the leadership role in developing it over the last 30 years, knows where everything is. And it's really cool. It's a very cool collection. And we, but it's not inventoried, and it's not, there's no index. And we talked about the idea that some of these materials might be worthy of being digitized. There's a platform available to historical commissions where you can have databases that you can digitize, and then they get stored on a central kind of library platform that's run by a state nonprofit. And then actually you could even have like a link on our website, or the town library could have a link to this archive, and then it would be available to the public for free. Wouldn't cost the town anything. It's a free digital storage platform, cloud platform. So, but there's some steps we needed to take before we could do that. And so we worked with a state agency with preservation. I think was it Preservation Massachusetts? It was the circuit rider for Preservation Massachusetts, has a roving archivist program. And so we applied to participate in that program, and they came out and did an assessment and wrote a report with a whole series of recommendations for what to do with that grant, with that collection, including developing an inventory for it. And then we applied for a second grant, and we got it for office supplies to help in the reorganization and the cataloging. And so we got last year this small grant, and we bought all of these supplies that are now sitting in the storage closet for that purpose. So we've got this kind of action plan, this written report that was provided to us, and we just kind of need to move forward with it. And they're willing to continue offering logistical support and technical support to us, but really it's kind of like the ball's in our hands right now. We kind of have an action plan. We know what we need to do, and we just haven't made a lot of headway with it. So that's what I'm proposing.
Always waiting for the weather to change.
That's right. Well, I'm interested in helping, and I think Karen said she was as well.
I think that we should, I think we've been held up a little bit about Greg's availability. So I think I'd like to suggest that perhaps, well, maybe Greg could play more of a secondary role, that we take some ownership of this, since I think that we just need to do that.
Okay.
So I will get the spreadsheet from Greg.
Okay.
I may actually have it. If not, we can create another one, because I don't think they ever really got it anywhere towards starting the inventorying. And then, what I had suggested was, let's just take one file cabinet at a time, one drawer at a time. and just say, all right, we want to get through this drawer, this
Yeah.
file drawer. Figure out what are duplicates, figure out what are things that maybe aren't worth keeping, maybe inventory the things that we might want to prioritize for digitization in the future, put them in archival acid-free folders with a good labeling system, with all the acid-free archival materials we got. And so it's just kind of like that process of just carving out one chunk of it at a time.
Mhm.
And Greg may have some ideas as well. I mean, obviously had some interest in this, and I'm not sure the extent of that interest and what it means, but might want to poll him and find out what he's up to with it,
Okay, I'll do that.
you know.
Yeah, when we've talked in these meetings about that was going to be the strategy we were going to take.
Yeah.
And again, it's all kind of laid out in the report from the roving archivist program. So we're just kind of following those instructions. They even gave us kind of an organizational structure for how to catalog things. Because really, you need to have a catalog before you can figure out what you're going to do with all of it. You have to know what's in there and be able to have some sort of inventory of it.
Is that report on our website or not?
No,
Okay, should it be, make it easier, or do you think we should wait on that?
I can. I can put it
Either
up.
that or maybe just send it around to all of us. So
Okay.
we've got another copy.
Yep, I will look for it.
Okay. Sort of bring it back up to the surface. It's probably somewhere deep in my files, but
Okay, that's great. So that's a good thing. That's going to keep us busy. I mean, that could keep us busy. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work.
could be really fun though. I think it'll be really interesting to see the stuff in there.
Yeah. It would be fun. And I think, Leslie has done an enormous service to the community. And
Yes.
I'd like to make sure that we protect it and can appreciate it. And if
Yep.
somebody wants to know what's in there, we'll be able to tell them what's in it because we'll have an inventory.
Yeah. Is there a way to do, back maybe before you came on, Miriam, we did have some digital audio files with Craig.
Yeah.
He converted them and
Love
stuff.
those.
And I don't know, is there another way to save that within that special website as well? Okay.
Yeah,
Nice
they
to
you
have it
can
more
you
than
can archive.
physical.
No, you could that digital platform. I think it's called the Digital Commons. Maybe it's called.
Okay, some digital Commonwealth, maybe something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that. Yeah, it can be audio, video,
Okay,
digitized documents, photographs.
okay,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I just, just so you understand, Matteo, the whole goal was how do we make this accessible to the public so that, if, a class at the elementary school wants to do a project on Shutesbury history, they would be able to have all this material online and accessible, for example,
Mhm.
or researchers or whatever. So, and how can we protect this stuff so that it doesn't deteriorate because of environmental conditions?
I'm wondering too, whether there might be, and I don't know if Leslie's already collected some of this or if it's worth collecting or whatever, but when we've done some of those plays for Shutesbury anniversaries, the time capsule, people did a lot of intensive research into individual characters that they were going to
Did they?
be. And I'm just
Oh.
wondering if that's compiled in some way, even if it's under the Celebrate Shutesbury file, and underneath that, the time capsule plays. But I know that a lot of people really got into it and got into specific personalities and did
I
more,
didn't know that.
yeah. So
That's
I'll
fun.
ask Leslie about it or see what the story is. But it just seemed like that might be a place too where, especially for school kids, if they want to look at some biographical historical information, there may be some stuff that's sort of been gathered already by these actors for their roles.
What did Tracy McNaughton play a role in that?
Maybe.
I think I remember her talking to her once and her saying that she helped.
Uh-huh.
or something. Maybe I got that wrong.
And I think Susan Millinger,
Mhm.
I don't know, there were a whole bunch of people that have done it because it's happened a couple of times now. Karen Traub, I think, just,
Do you want to reach out to any of them and ask?
yeah, I can try to track some stuff down and find out. I'll talk with Susan maybe, and see what she
Yep.
knows.
That'd be great.
Okay.
So the other thought I had, and I just wanted to throw this out to the commission.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about this a couple of years ago and about the idea of doing something about preserving stone walls in Shutesbury.
Mm.
I've
And we
been
had-
here all along, been lost in a part of Zoom that I couldn't speak or be seen, I
Oh,
guess.
no.
We're back.
Hi, Leslie.
I'm still here and
Okay.
I just signed out and got back in, so I don't think I missed too much.
No,
Yeah, I thought maybe you'd given up on us when I saw you disappear.
No, it's myself that I gave up on, and I actually texted you, Janice, to tell
Oh.
you that I was having difficulty
Oh,
trying to. I never
my-
saw the screen that I ended up on, and I just couldn't get out of it. So I just signed out and signed back in. So on the recordings, the gentleman, his name, I forget
Craig.
right now.
Craig.
Craig,
Pepper.
yeah, he gave me the thumb drives and I showed them to Greg to see if Greg knew what to do with them. I don't, it's beyond my technology skills, and Greg at the time seemed to be the most technology.
Yeah.
So the thumb drives are right there with the
Yeah.
recordings themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we just need a platform for store. You can transfer them to a platform. We just don't have a platform, a digital
Yeah.
platform. Yeah, but
I
that
can't, you can, but I
Yeah.
can't.
we don't have a
okay.
platform. Yeah, I mean, we can do that. So the stone walls, I wanted
Mhm.
us to ask the commission about revisiting that. And there were two pieces of it. One was perhaps documenting, doing a mapping a project to document where stone walls are in Shutesbury.
Mhm.
And then the other, maybe creating a GIS map that could be used for preservation efforts. And then the other question is about a scenic roads bylaw.
Mhm.
And, I had kind of, Janice, you and I talked about it, and
Yeah.
I drafted a bylaw.
Mhm.
And I had a conversation with the planning board about it. And I don't know if you were there.
Too.
Who was there?
No, but I was involved in one and they didn't really have much interest. I
Yeah, I
thought,
was really discouraged about that because when it was like in the winter of 21 to 20.
could be, yeah.
And, the feedback was that they didn't think that the dirt roads in Shutesbury were particularly scenic, or the roads in Shutesbury, because we don't have grand vistas.
Yeah.
And I just felt, that was a bias, a vista bias.
Yeah.
I do think that we have scenic roads,
Yeah.
and there is this state law that allows towns to pass scenic roads bylaws that will protect stone walls within the right of way. And it just creates a process by which the planning board would review any destruction of the stone walls. It doesn't mean, that the town can't do what it wants to do. It just means that there'd be a review process with the planning board.
And so I wonder if there's a way where the planning board can still be part of the deciding factor, but either historical or conservation or something can be more involved in getting something out into the public for review and for what the process is going to be. It seems like it would still be helpful for the historical commission to have some input on this too, and not just the planning board. And I don't
Especially
know
where
if that's,
especially if we
doable or
think
not.
things are scenic and they don't.
yes, yeah,
It's all in the eye of the beholder, right?
yeah. And it may be that they're doing, a lot of the scenic bylaw has to do with not removing stone walls for new driveways or, for houses or something like that. When actually we're looking at it just as a scenic resource and town character and all that sort of stuff. Sort of a slightly different perspective and not necessarily associated with a development project.
Right.
And anyway, so I don't know if I mean, I looked into a bunch of these many years ago now. I don't
Mhm.
remember any historical commissions being specifically mentioned, but that was several years ago. So maybe, I don't know if any of the towns around here have one.
I mean, you could create, I mean, it's possible that you could have a bylaw passed where it wasn't the planning board I don't think there's anything written that says it has to be
Uh-huh.
it isn't a zoning determination, so it's not
Yeah.
like a special permit application. What they do is that you're creating an application process, but who
Yeah.
administers that could be anybody. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be the planning board, and maybe there's some communities, I imagine there's communities that have like historic districts
Mhm.
and historic district commissions, where it is the historic district commission that's reviewing it.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I don't know how to gin up more enthusiasm about this among the town, but I would love to see a map and inventory of the stone walls so
Mhm.
that we can sort of appreciate where they are, and then, just, it would help also just educating landowners about the value of preserving them, because I think most people love the fact that they have stone walls on their property. Most
Mhm.
people I know.
Would we be including cellar holes in this, stone
Yeah.
cellar holes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be it could be, the bylaw, the scenic roads bylaw specifically deals with that right of way, but, and so, that's under town jurisdiction in particular, but some cellar holes are in the right of way.
And I was hoping it would also extend to stone structures. And again, this is generally just roadside. It's not in interior. The scenic road bylaws, and I don't know necessarily what the buffer for road bylaws is, but it might in some cases include other stone structures of one kind or another. And just to have that open, whether it's a foundation or something else. And maybe, maybe if there were interest in different elements or something, that there could be like a board, review board for that. That would be a planning board member, a historical, maybe commission, I don't know, and maybe, I don't know, I don't think it would be recreation necessarily, but there might be another group too that would have interest.
I just looked on my computer, and it
Yeah.
was the draft that I wrote was dated December 2021.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I got the whole thing right here.
Mhm.
A draft of it. I mean, there's certainly some decision points. It's also sometimes these bylaws also involve historic trees and involve the tree warden.
Mhm.
There aren't a lot of, I've asked Don
That's right.
Walker about this, and there aren't a lot of trees in Shutesbury that he thinks are really so old in the right of way.
But it's not just the age of the trees. It has to do with the scenic characteristic of the road, including trees along it.
Right.
I imagine utilities will still be exempt, but they've cleaned out a lot of the roadside trees already, but the trees come in just like, do you have to remove all these trees along this scenic road, especially if they're sugar maples or something, red maples, and they're really pretty for the fall. So it's not necessarily a tree warden thing, but I think the tree warden would certainly be a good person to have involved in that as well.
Yeah, I've got these materials. I could recirculate them, and we could put that on our
Mhm.
agenda
Okay.
to revisit. Obviously, none of this is a long-term goal, not I'm not talking about a bylaw proposal for this year,
Yeah,
but maybe, maybe doing some of the preliminary work for 2024.
When you say right of way, you're talking about right alongside the roadways, right?
yeah, certain distance. I don't know if it's like 20 feet in from the edge of the road or something. It may vary with the different bylaws. I don't know, but it's generally related directly to the roadways and the buffer of the road.
Okay. Yeah, when I a long time ago in a different life, I worked for an historical commission, or heritage commission, excuse me. And there were a lot of issues with property owners not wanting historic resources identified to the public for both reasons of privacy, but then also concern that it was going to increase their taxes or
Ah.
increase the justification that the government was going to regulate their land. And I just don't want
Oh, wow.
the town to think that this is anything, if it's just in that right of way, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can imagine there are probably some people in town who would be, might get standoffish about it.
No, this isn't like establishing a historic district that then has development restrictions. There's no, I mean, there would be perhaps restrictions on what you could do to the stone wall. But, theoretically, the stone wall doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the town because it's in the right of way.
And in usually there's some kind of thing in there that you're allowed to remove, like say a 20-foot section if, the new house and driveway.
Yeah.
There's usually some allowance for that. But that otherwise to not just dismantle them or have someone come along and take all the stones and disappear with them either. Because for at least at some point in Connecticut and part of Rhode Island, that was really the big issue, was that people were just coming, weekends or nights or something and loading up their trucks with the stones from the existing stone walls to make something nice on their own place. So it
Yeah.
was protection in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And there is a protection against that, right? I was just looking through
I don't know if there is.
so I see there's a section in, which one am I in here? In the zoning bylaw,
Uh-huh.
3.25. It's different. It prohibits the commercial removal of stones from a stone wall, old field pile, or pre-existing cellar hole from any parcel for the purpose of transporting the stones out of Shutesbury for sale elsewhere.
So it's a start. Yeah, at least it has that.
I think there's one about minimizing disruption of lanes lined with trees and stone walls. Oh, 8.32, preserve stone walls and hedgerows. They're
Okay.
required in rural siting principles.
Yeah. It's a value, but there's nothing.
Not a rule, yeah.
It's, unless they were doing a special permit application, they wouldn't necessarily
Uh-huh.
people coming to them with proposed alterations.
Mhm.
Yep.
And it just also means that there's a process then that the highway department or the town, or the utilities or whatever, want to do some work in the right of way, that there's at least a conversation about what happens with the stone walls.
Yeah. Oh, that's what this, so there's the special permit requirement. Sorry, I'm
Uh-huh.
know this stuff already, but okay. Historic resources and properties
Right.
shall be excluded from the areas proposed for development. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Well, I'd really like to see us continue having that discussion and trying to, I think people would support this. I think people love the rural character of our dirt roads and even the dirt roads, just paved roads. I mean,
Mhm.
Shutesbury has a different character than towns that have big vistas and big farm fields and open spaces, and it's a little more intimate, but I think it's uniquely Shutesbury.
Mhm.
I think it would
Well,
also an inventory like that would make it easier when people are thinking about things like planning, to know where those identified resources are.
Yeah.
To have it inventoried and mapped would be a useful resource.
And
what would be
even-
the process of moving on something like this? Does it have to be approved by the planning board? The zoning board?
Well, not for us to do our own mapping. We can do that. We can just do that if we want. I mean, Janice and I know how to do some of this, and I don't know if other people do.
basically have to use LiDAR.
For the stone walls, you have to use LiDAR?
Yeah, it makes it really easy. That's what Eva
Oh.
did in Leverett.
So just using the flyover LiDAR that's available, or they have
Yes.
to? Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then you may have to do some field checking, if it's suddenly you have these really erratic pieces, it could be something else that's showing up, but you can easily pick out the stone walls through the woods because you don't see the trees, with the
Right.
LiDAR.
That's brilliant.
And sometimes you can see old foundations and stuff. I talked to Craig about this when he was on board before he left, because he was involved and interested in some sorts of stuff like that too. But we could try
love
to
this
find out
idea.
more from Eva, and how to make it practical.
Yeah.
When you say flyover, you're talking about like a drone survey?
No, it's
No,
already.
these already exist.
Oh, it
It's
already exists.
aerial photography of sorts, or not satellite, but it's flyovers done by the state, and they have lots of different kinds of bandwidths and everything. But one of their layers is a LiDAR layer, so you can see those stone features. And there have been a bunch of presentations that I've been to about ceremonial stone landscapes where people are using them for that too. If you have fairly big stone groupings, those will also show up on the LiDAR. So
Janice, can you, is it possible? Yeah, I'm just thinking of like, if you
Yeah.
want to do GIS mapping, like,
yeah,
how do you, can you get it as a base layer, or
yes.
can you
Yeah,
add?
it's downloading like you would download a wetlands layer or one of the dates of the imagery, the orthophotos, that sort of thing.
And
It's
then
a base
you
layer.
just add your waypoints manually through GIS, or do you upload them from a GPS?
Well, I think Eva may have ways of then taking that image and refining it, simplifying it, removing a lot of the errant, pieces and lines and stuff to at least come up with an original sort of baseline, and then to be able to correct from there. But I'm not
Okay.
positive with that. But at the least you can create your own new data layer, linear
Well,
data layer.
I'll reach out to her.
Okay.
I didn't realize you could do it that way. That's a cool idea. That would
Yeah.
certainly better than going up and down the roads with a GPS.
Yeah.
Which is what I was envisioning, which might have been fun, but time consuming.
This way it would be, it's like the first step rather than the second step.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can do some field checking and stuff like that, on public property and with permission and everything else like
Right.
that. But at least you get the sort of patterns, and you can sometimes tell more about how there used to be a lot more happening deep in our woods, than what we see now.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, in addition to stone walls, what would be really cool about that is also being able to map out the locations of old historic mill structures, which will
Yeah.
probably show up along streams
Mhm.
in the LiDAR layer. And that is a cool thing, because
Yeah.
that, we don't have it all documented where all those structures are, and they're out there.
Mhm. Yeah, from the things I've read from time to time in the paper from Leverett, it seems like that's what the Leverett Historical Commission and Eva primarily, I think, has been working on. They had a whole series on, old mills, historic mills. And I think that was all related to the same project of mapping their stone features
That's
in their
so
town.
great. Well, I'll try to. I
Yeah.
feel like I need to
Can
reach
I
out.
just say, please
Yeah.
don't go too far ahead. This wasn't even on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh, sorry. Well, it was just,
This and I don't know, maybe I guess maybe you covered it with projects. Maybe it is on, I don't know, in that sense that maybe you did have projects there.
didn't really, it was just kind of, I mean,
We
I just-
added it as unanticipated business, but
yeah.
later in the
It's really
in, agenda.
It was my afterthoughts from the discussion last
Yeah.
meeting about our setting priorities, and thinking, these were things that we've already set as priorities, but they've kind of fallen to the wayside. So I'd like to kind of get us kind of reoriented a little bit back on track with some of the things that we already wanted to do.
We can do some
Yeah.
homework and come back
Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
and have it on the agenda.
I think that's better.
Yeah, good idea.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't have
So
anything else.
any other business tonight? I guess we've exhausted it.
This will be
Oh.
my shortest Zoom this week.
Ah.
And I still have another one tomorrow night to go.
Well, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Well, we should set a meeting date for our next
Ah.
meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I have to go get my calendar. I'll be right back.
That'll work.
Sorry if I got a little too geeked out there talking about mapping. I
Okay.
find this stuff super interesting.
Okay. So what were you looking at?
Well, the 1, 2, 3, the fourth Wednesday would be the 26th.
Mhm. Okay, I mean, that's okay with me. It's okay with you
Um,
guys?
I don't know if there's a conflict with any other
No,
boards.
I was just gonna check.
Oh, good.
Um, I assume we'll still be doing this by Zoom. I'm sort of planning to be away for oh, no, I'm talking about June. This is May, yes?
April.
April, right? We're doing
April.
April.
We're in March right now.
Oh, yes. Okay. So,
So the CPC is meeting on the 12th on a Wednesday. The Board of Health meets on the 19th. So the 26th is open right now. So
yeah,
I'm thinking that might be actually a pretty good time.
26,
Yeah, I think we could do that safely at,
Oh, yeah, there's nothing listed there yet.
why don't we do that?
yep.
Okay,
Okay. All right, I
Good.
will post it.
great.
Same time.
Yeah. And just looking at that meeting schedule, I don't know why, Miriam, but the Conservation Commission meeting at 6:30 last night was crossed out.
Yeah, because we didn't have a quorum, so I canceled it
Oh, okay. All right.
after the fact so that they wouldn't be hounding me for minutes. Because
Oh,
we didn't
okay.
have a quorum, so we didn't open it.
Okay, good. Thanks. All right. Did we do the full vote or not yet?
No,
We're leaving?
going around the
Okay.
room, I moved to adjourn the meeting.
I'll
Second.
second it. I'll second.
Okay. Yeah, Defunt,
Aye.
Geddes, aye. Angalo,
Hi.
Stone,
Hi,
right? Good to see you all.
nice to see you.
We'll see you in warmer weather.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Aye.